Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 44. Hello, and welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson, and I'm here with Julian Pomble. How's it going?
Hello. Hey, not bad. Not bad. You know.
Happy Advent. It's 1st of December.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's right. It's getting to that time. We put on radio too, and they're just banging out the Christmas tunes.
Yep.
You know. It's that time of year again. You know, it was all the sort of sadder, more like kind of ones, like White Christmas and what's the Pogues one?
I thought that was banned.
And Fairy Tale of New York, yeah. Good times, but
aye,
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it's getting close to my birthday.
It feels like we only just had Christmas. Because this year hasn't happened, it's like, what's Christmas? What are you talking about? Is it just me? It's not just me.
No, it's not just you. I feel like I've just been kind of. This is what. So like, video game chat for a second. This is what I must have felt like in like the vaults and like the Fallout games.
Hi.
It's just like you're in a bubble, and all of a sudden you just notice that certain things have just changed, like, oh, it's Christmas time now, and oh, it's like, it's technically spring, and blah blah, you know, like, and stuff like that, and it just...
What's really annoying me now is part of getting into the sort of Christmas vibe for me is playing Christmas gigs, because I play a lot of like big band gigs, you know. Big band Christmas gigs are great. You know, playing all the old Christmas tunes in big band style, it's a cool thing, and just playing them with the function band and Christmas parties and stuff. And I'm not going to get to do any of that this year at all. It's just going to be crap. I really miss all that stuff.
Yeah, we had like a run of Christmas gigs as well with my wedding band. That was like our first like big You know, like a hotel reached out and was like, hey, we'd like to book you to play like every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Like in December. And I was like, yeah. And now it's not happening. Now it's just like.
Every year for the last something like 6 years, I play like in the first week of December in the Hilton in Glasgow. And it's a big corporate Christmas party and play tunes till 1 o'clock. In the morning, and it's great, and every year I look forward to it, and this is the first year in like 6 years I've not done it. Same with Hogmanay, New Year's Eve. I've had a gig every single year since 2012, 11, 12.
Sucks, man.
It's like, it's going to be weird being in the house. It really sucks, really sucks. But hopefully next year we'll get a Hogmanay again. And a Christmas out playing gigs and stuff. I just think like the last time I played with my big band was literally last Christmas, almost a year ago. It's bizarre. Anyway, so I was thinking the other day, I can't remember. I was listening to something and I heard someone mention this thing, because I'm kind of nerdy and into science and weird stuff. They were talking about entropy. Entropy's is kind of cool. It's complicated, but it's actually not. So the example I've heard, the entropy thing, is it's really difficult to build something, but easy to take it down. I'll give you an example. Is you build a sandcastle on the beach, right? So you put some sand into a little bucket thing, and then you tip it upside down. You've got a wee castle. If you left it there, it would last not very much time. So just with the forces of wind and rain and the tide and whatever would come in,
tide,
it would just go back to its sort of untouched, natural, chaotic form pretty quickly. But the actual act of putting that castle together is it's like trying to get something complex and maintain it is actually very difficult. And I was thinking about that because I'm a weirdo. And I'm like, it's kind of the same with bands. So you get this thing in a band, in anything, where they talk about peaks and troughs and stuff. So for the longest time, when you start a band, you get, in terms of response or fans or income or whatever you happen to measure, it's just nothing, and then, a wee bit, and then zoom, just goes off the graph. You just get all this attention like really quickly. It's like exponential. Yeah. So it's exponential means the rate at which it increases every time you move up the time scale. So like today it's grown by this much, tomorrow it's grown by twice as much, the next day it's grown by 3 times as much, because it just compounds like a snowball effect. So, and that's partly due to entropy, where it's really difficult to build something complex and maintain it, and really easy to destroy it, because a band member could leave and it could break the whole band apart overnight, and you just go from 100 to 0 instantly. Another example, I was running Agostina into university last week, and there's a bit of Glasgow Uni campus, and if you live in Glasgow, you'll know the bit I mean. It's on University Avenue, and they have been building that damn building for about 2 years, and it's been contraflow down that road, traffic lights for so long. Building this stupid building and holding up all the traffic. It's taken them like 2 years to build it, but a dirty big earthquake could come along and knock the whole thing down in 5 seconds. It takes so long to build things complex, and I think the same goes for a band. So
yeah, 100%.
We hear it all the time. They talk about all like the struggling artist, the guy who plays in the street corner for 10 years and then randomly in the space of a month becomes number one, like Ed Sheeran. At one point he was homeless, living on somebody's couch, and was just begging in the street with an open guitar case with people throwing pound coins in. And then next minute he's like multi-millionaire, writing songs for everybody.
Yeah.
Because if you stick at it long enough and it's the stuff you're selling is good, it just, once it starts to catch on, the rate at which it catches on gets more and more and more and more and more. So with this knowledge, with the acknowledgement that this happens, there are some things that you can do to influence the exponential growth effect. And we talk about this all the time. That's what the whole podcast is about, really, is ensuring that you stay at it long enough that this snowball effect starts to work for you. So there's a couple of things that we always talk about. Think about ways in which you can ensure your band can last long enough for the growth effect to happen. So we're talking about writing, rehearsing, and just general discipline. Making sure you're touching base. And there's something we've been doing is, because over lockdown we've kind of been neglecting different things, but having a monthly Zoom call with the band is actually really good. I mean, see how much you can get done just by just talking to each other.
Yeah, just because like it's you could like message each other or whatever, but I feel like when you actually talk things out, like, because talking is like, conversation can be so complex, like it's always, you should always try and meet up and actually converse, because you'll get ideas out there much quicker and much faster.
Yeah, it's obviously because there's nothing happening just now, like there's no gigs and you can't rehearse and it's hard to record. So you've got to touch base. Like, if you're listening to this and you haven't really spoken to your bandmates in 6 months, schedule a wee Zoom call. Do it right now, genuinely. Just to say, all right, we're still in a band. This is still a thing, and get planning. You know, because once things start to pick up again, you want to be in a place where you go, right, we've got a plan. This is what we're going to do. Oh, you've been working on that tune. Bring that in, and we'll maybe work on that when we can get back in the rehearsal studio. Oh, we've got a couple of tunes here we want to record for an EP, right? First thing, we're going to get in, rehearse those 3 songs and get that. That's our plan. Get the plan on the go.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in a band and you've not touched base in 6 months and you've got nothing in the pipeline, folk can forget about it and they end up doing something else. And then you go, oh, you want to go back to the studio? I'm like, nah, kind of lost interest. It's not really thinking about that anymore. You don't want that to happen. You don't.
Yeah.
It's not only good songs, talent that you need. You need to be able to last the long game. You need to be playing the long game if you want to have any success at all. You get some artists who can go decades, like just grinding and grinding and grinding, and then eventually make it.
Somebody that does come to mind who's exactly like that is Sia.
Yeah, perfect example. Yeah,
basically she's been writing music since like the 90s,
mm-hmm.
and it's only just now she's like,
yep,
you know, really made it big. Other bands that are like that, like Sonic Youth is another one actually. You know, like they had been playing music for ages, like since they were like in their early 20s and stuff.
Aye.
And then they only really got big once they were like, you know, like 32, 33, and you're thinking to yourself, like, is that not a bit old for rock and roll? But it's not.
No.
You know, they made it work.
No. It's funny, you get that in all sorts of things. It's like Ricky Gervais. Yeah. He didn't do anything or released nothing until he was like in his 40s. I think The Office was like, he was like 42 or something when that came out. It's like he had tried being a solo artist as well, and like it just failed miserably, and it took him until his 40s to get.
I think a lot of people kind of get put off because they see, you know, artists along the lines of like
Bieber,
Billie Eilish, and what's that? There's a girl from New Zealand. She's called like Benet or something like that. But like people like that who like are really, really young, and then all of a sudden like they write one tune and then they're like they've just exploded, you know.
Aye.
It can be really disheartening, and you're sitting there, I don't know, like you're sitting there like me, like, you know, 25, 26 years old, like 10 years older than a lot of these people, and you're sort of sitting there going like, I've been going at this for ages and I've not done anything.
Yeah.
Like nothing has been picked up, but
yeah,
just have to keep going.
Yep. Because there's rules and exceptions to rules, you know, keep talking about that.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I would like, there's some artists that I would argue were just in the right place at the right time. And if it wasn't going to be them, it would have been someone else. And they know that. For example, the Beatles, they were the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
That there was going to be a big musical revolution in the 60s. That was going to happen. And they might have not been in the head of that. If Buddy Holly hadn't have been killed in that plane crash, Buddy Holly might have filled that void, because the Beatles basically just picked up where Buddy Holly left off, and they were just rolling with that style of music, but with their own sort of twist.
Plus, they had the right people behind them as well.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't know, they would have probably just kept doing covers of things like they started doing, or like, you know, they started off as like a skiffle band.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah. It's you've got to be willing to play the long game. And I would say, like, another important thing: keep making good music. Don't stop making music. Don't stop writing music.
Yep.
The minute you stop writing and trying new songs, it's just when it all starts to die. Because if there's nothing new coming out, it's just blah. It's like look at Stephen King, the novelist. How many books has that man written? I mean, I think he writes a page a day, at least a page a day, every single day without fail. You know, can write 2 chapters in a day, but his goal, I think, is a page a day at least. And if he doesn't do that, he keeps going until he's got a page. It could be a page of nonsense, but he's grinding it out because he knows if he gets enough pages in him, he knows that it's going to move the needle, you know, on the dial.
Yeah. Well, it's like what was I going to say? Yeah, it's and it could be that page of nonsense, it could be nonsense that day, you leave it alone, you come back to it the next day and you go, actually, there's actually some interesting things in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I think Neil Gaiman kind of says something kind of similar. But like he like when he's writing first drafts for anything, he just will write and he'll just write it all. Like, doesn't care what happens in the middle or whatever. He just writes and just makes sure he starts and then he gets to an end. Then you can worry about everything else. And it's kind of the same with music. Like, just keep writing songs, even if you think it's awful.
Yeah,
you know, even if you can't come up with anything and you're just sitting there like, I don't know, just like. Yeah, like just write it, record it, and then you might come back to it and be like, actually, there is something. There might be something there.
Yes.
You know?
I was listening.
I mean, it's not necessarily the piano part that you were playing, but maybe it was like a little melody you scattered over.
Yeah, exactly. I was listening to some of our mad demo rehearsal stuff that we did with Eriska. And the writing example. Of the last, some of that stuff is absolute trash. I mean, there's some jams in there that were dreadful. But if you listen to little bits of it, you're like, oh, that we kept that. That ended up in the final thing.
Yes.
There's like elements of jams that we kept and put it in the actual final thing. So but if we hadn't, you know, just, oh, here's a tune, let's jam it, and we just jam, and 90% of it's garbage. But there's that cream at the top. It's like, yes, that's the stuff. That's what pushes the band along. Mm-hmm. I love that. I miss that. It's been a year, nearly.
It's like the other sort of analogy that comes to mind. It's kind of like if you're like refining gold or silver or whatever, you just melt it down, and you just keep scooping and scooping all the impurities until you just have the purest version of it. It's kind of the same with jamming.
Have you ever been
jamming and jamming?
Have you ever been gold panning?
No, I have not.
You haven't?
Because I think I would get bored.
Oh my god, it's so boring. You have to go to a country that has gold. I was on holiday in New Zealand, and there's a lot of gold in New Zealand. So we went to this sort of gold mining town, and they've kept it kind of the way it looked 100 years ago, and they all give us a pan. So you go up to this rock face and they fire this big fireman's hose at the rock face, and it breaks apart some rocks, and then it all comes trundling down this little stream from the big hose. And then you get in there with your pan and you grab some of the silt, and then you just swish it about and swish it about and swish it about. You could be doing it for an hour, and then you get like a sparkle in the pan. You're like, oh, and you look closely, and it's like gold glitter in amongst this just sludge mud, and you just get this wee bits of gold, and that's basically panning for gold. That's not how you get the gold. Panning for gold tells you where the gold is. That's the test. So they would go and panning for gold is like, oh, there's gold here. I can see particles. So then they would dig the gold out from that place where they were panning. So it's kind of like a test.
Yeah.
And that's the same with music. Like, you find a little gold in the jam, and then you know, oh, that's where the gold is. Let's just pursue that.
Yeah. Kind of unrelated to music, but it's just a fun story. This happened in Scotland. So up near where where I grew up, about 30 minutes away or so, and it's just the place is called the Lead Hills.
Yeah.
Because there used to be a big lead mine there. It's really cool. You should check it out, Lead Hills. It's pretty awesome. But they do gold panning there, and somebody actually was just gold panning, just hoping to find some gold. They didn't just find gold, like they found a nugget.
Wow.
About like that size, which was worth at the time, I think this was in the 90s, I think it was worth about £250,000 or something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is insane.
Wow.
But yeah, I think now that big chunk of gold is sitting in, I think it's sitting in the Edinburgh Museum.
I
think. So there you go. Fun story. You could just be sludging,
Yeah.
Or tie it back to the music,
Yeah.
With your jams. You could be sludging away, looking for stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you do just get a big old nugget.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. You didn't even need to dig it up or anything. It's just like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun
Pretty
doing
cool.
that. I love jam-based writing for that. It's great for just keeping it fun. That's kind of the most important part. If you want to play the long game, is just to keep it fun for everyone playing in the band. There's nothing fun about you will play exactly as written and this is law. If someone comes in with an idea and like, right, I've got this idea, but let's jam it.
Yeah.
I think it's better.
Yeah. Depends if you're expecting that. Like, if you already know the job is you play exactly what I tell you to play, then okay, cool, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're in that kind of jamming, kind of like, even if you have like a proper like written out arrangement, don't be afraid of just being like, here, I have written the thing, I have written some bass lines, but please just change it. Do whatever you like.
Can you listen to my tapping solo? It's really good, I promise.
Yeah. But yeah.
So they
do all that.
The next part, other than just keep writing music, keep putting music out there, keep keeping it exciting. Another thing you can do to try and keep the curve going up, gradually going, is as long as it's going up and not going down, you're doing something right. It doesn't have to go up by much. Just as long as it's going up.
A little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah. As long as it just keeps going up. Exactly.
So get your name and music in front of as many people as you can. The effects of word of mouth expand exponentially. And that's true. So if I, think about coronavirus, right? So I have it, say, and I pass it to one person. And then that one person sees 5 people and passes it to 5 people. And then those 5 people see another 5 people, and that's 5 times 5, 25. And then it just keeps exponentially growing till everyone's got it, right? That's the snowball effect. That's what I'm talking about. So if you go to a cafe and you say, that is the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life, amazing, and you tell all your friends, and then they tell all their friends, and then they go, and then it just keeps expanding and Let's just a massive tree. It's like a tree, a branch on a tree. So you've got the trunk, which branches into 2 branches, and then into more and more and more and more until you've just got so many different branches. And that the same thing can happen if you keep getting your name out there. You're doing videos, you're advertising, you're playing gigs, you're sending your EP or your album off to radio stations, you're playing your stuff here and there, trying to get on Spotify playlists, just everything you can to try and get your brand, get your name, get your music in front of people. And the more you do that, the more chances you have of picking up the word of mouth thing. Oh, you should check out this band I listen to. It's, there's a couple of bands that I have been put onto by people through that means. Yeah. They were like, "Oh, what's this you're listening to? Oh, this is this band. It's really cool. You should check them out." And then next minute they're a super fan of that music. So word of mouth is like definitely the best way of marketing. And if
like even on kind of an unrelated note, but for you peeps out there who are, not able to play at the moment in bands, but you're like, I would like to maybe start doing some private teaching while waiting all this to blow over, because that is a good strat to have.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
Yep.
Like the majority of my students I have just gotten because somebody has gone, I've started teaching somebody, and then somebody will say to that person like, "Oh, little Jimmy wants to learn how to play guitar or piano or whatever," and then they'll go, "Well, my son gets taught by so and so, and they're really good."
Yep.
Or my daughter gets taught. And honestly, that's like, you can put ads out there. That's a good starting place. But the rest of your students will all come from people wanting, just word of mouth. And it's kind of the same with bands as well. Like, you'll play a gig. Like, let me put it this way. So, like, let's say you've like you booked a venue and you're playing a gig and stuff, and you've spoken to the sound guy and stuff, and you're really nice, you're really like cooperative, and like you're really respectful. Like people will remember that, and they'll go like, "Oh, that was a really good band that we had in that night," and they made a lot of money for us, and they were really easy to work with. We'll let other venues that we're in contact with also know that this band is cool, or maybe the sound guy is like, "Oh yeah, like that band was great," and they'll remember you, and then I don't know, they'll have other contacts and they'll know people, maybe like somebody who runs an event. Be like
Graham Rory,
but it's all the same.
Be like Graham Rory. Episode 37. Go listen to that if you haven't. That's his policy. He's like, just don't be horrible. Just be nice, be obliging, be helpful, and they'll remember you. It's so true, so true.
I mean, at the same time, I mean, there is a little bit of a I'm trying to, like, you need to kind of be subtle about it. Don't force yourself to be a total kiss ass, because people can smell that from a mile away. Don't when you're talking to people, right? And don't force yourself to be like, "Oh, so like, what kind of music do you play? Wow, that's really cool." If you don't care, you don't care. Don't talk to them about that.
Yeah.
Just be genuine. Be as genuine as possible. Be nice and authentic. Don't just be nice because it's the right thing to do, because people can tell if you're putting it on.
Yeah, it's like those people that you meet and they're like, "Do you want to see these pictures of my cat?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to see pictures of your cat." But you go, "Yeah, okay, yeah, sure." I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
And then you're like, "Oh wow, yep, that's a cat.
That's a good damn cat."
Yeah, it has 4 legs. Wow, and a tail. That's crazy. 2 ears. It's like a cat. Damn,
that's a proper cat.
What does it eat? Cat food. That's bro, I can't believe it.
Oh no!
Don't do that.
I'm really bad. I'm really bad at like gauging that with people. I don't know why that is. Like knowing if the person's going to be interested. So I just end up saying nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they're being polite. Like, "Oh, what sort of music?" I'm like, it's just this. Yeah, okay. Because let me tell you.
Yeah, the way that I sort of that I sort of work is lead with like questions, like genuine questions that you're interested in. So like say you're talking to I'm a bass player, right? And the bass player of the other band has approached me and started talking to me. I just asked them questions like how long have you been playing bass for, or like what kind of bass is that, and whatever. That's a really good way to start a conversation. Is with questions. You know, I mean related questions, not left field. Not like, if you had 3 wishes, what would you wish for? Like not those kind of questions. Or well. Like what do you think's better, cats or dogs? It's like,
yes, you know? I have met some people who on first meeting
100.
What's that? Would you fight 100?
Sorry. No, I was gonna say, like, would you fight? The other classic one is, would you fight one like horse-sized duck or 100 like duck-sized horses? Like,
yeah, I've had questions like that from people I've never met. So there was this gig I turned up to. I'm not going to name names. It was just a gig. It was a dep, and I'd never met this person in my life before. And he just comes up to me and goes, "Would you rather?" And just went in with a "would you rather," and it was the most crude "would you rather" I've ever heard. It was something that you would maybe tell someone you've known for 5 years because you know them well enough. I'd met, literally the first thing this guy said to me was "would you rather," and it was horrendous. And I was like,
so horrendous, you're not even going to...
I'm not even going to say
put it on the air.
I'm not even going to say it. It's just... I was like, that's what you went with?
You can tell me after we finish the episode, because I'm curious.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So I think that the moral of that story is, don't be off-putting on both scales. Don't be so off-putting that you'd never get asked back, and don't be so off-putting because you keep, oh, really? I'm really interested in this, blah, 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 blah. You know, because people can spot the fake from a mile off. It's just, there's a balance. There's a balance with everything, I suppose. So the next point I've got here is, don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah, so, this is a really important
one. If you are too slow and too careful when planning things, so you like your EP or your artwork or whatever it happens to be, you can increase your chances of dying out due to a lack of action because you're obsessing over the minute details. When sometimes
this kind of goes back to one of the other episodes that we did, the singer-songwriter one. You know.
Yeah. There's a few episodes we talk about this. Yes. It's just sitting on something like an EP or a songwriting decision or a song or something you're rehearsing, and it's like you've been in bands, I've been in bands where the type of bands that never release anything and they're just perpetually rehearsing the same material over and over and over and over and over. I've been in bands and I've seen bands that they almost never gig and they just rehearse the same material over and over. I'm like, who are you rehearsing this for? Yeah. And it's, we need to get it perfect. So, like, it wasn't until I was like 17 or 18 that I realised that one gig is worth about 5 rehearsals. Genuinely. Because you learn so much more about your song playing it live than you do in a rehearsal room. The rehearsal room gets it to the point where you're not going to look completely ridiculous on stage. But getting it on the stage and actually playing it in front of people multiple times is where you get it to recording quality, where this is actually worth recording now. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, you need to have gigged a piece of music, if possible. Like, get it out and play it and then record it. Yeah, always.
It's I've seen it all too many times. People,
because we did that with the newest thing we've been working on. We actually gigged the pieces, a lot, you know, and we made loads of changes
Yeah.
on the fly as well. Like, that bit doesn't work, and this bit, maybe we should change that.
Yeah. I can think of one. There was one you did. We had backing vocals, no lead vocals, but we had a backing vocal section, and then we heard it back on a video, and we're like, what? Nope, get that cut immediately. It just did not work.
It's awful.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Seemed like a good
Just
idea. At the time.
instrumental music from now on.
Yeah. It seemed like a good idea. We're like, oh, we'll give this a shot, and we gave it a shot. We tried it in rehearsal, sounded great, and then you watch a video back someone took as at the gig, and then you listen back, you go, oh
Yeah.
no, never again.
No, yeah, I'm even like cringing just now, just thinking about it. Like on every single like muscle in my body is tense. Like, ugh.
It's good though. It's good though, because if you hadn't gigged it and you hadn't tested it, you wouldn't have found that out.
Yeah. Exactly.
And sitting on it, if we had just sat on that, never gigged it, and just rehearsed and gone and recorded it and released it,
and gone like, yeah, that was great.
And then 5 years later or a year later, you go, oh no, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
I've been in bands in the past when I was in my early 20s, and we would have like recorded a full 5-track EP and we've maybe played one gig, and we didn't release it because we were trying to perfect the videos. We were trying to get videos done. We were trying to get artwork, proper artwork, and we were obsessing. It went like 6, 7, 8, 9 months, and this EP was just sitting there in the bank, and it was disagreements. No, and then the band split up, and that 5-track EP is still sitting on a hard drive somewhere, not released, because we were just like spinning our wheels, just spinning the wheels. Just get it out there. Just keep the train moving up that exponential curve. Because that's the thing. As long as you're moving in the upward direction, as long as you're getting more fans, as long as you're getting more folk to gigs, it doesn't matter if it's one more guy, one more person up the back. That's progress. Yeah. It's still progress in the right direction. It's like you were saying earlier before the episode, when we were like grinding in the sort of earlier, like a couple of years ago, and we planned a tour. We just fired ahead with it and released an album, and it was getting kind of minimal attention. We did our little tour. We promoted the heck out of the album launch, to the point where we turn up at the album launch, right, and we're doing the sound check, and the place is obviously empty, and you're like, oh, I don't know if anyone's going to come. This is because you've done millions of gigs before, where you're like, oh, getting hyped for the crowds coming in, and then your gran comes in, and that's it. But the people were flooding in, and it was like, who are these people? Like, it was the first time ever. It was like randoms were coming in, and like
people we had never seen before. Like, obviously we recognized like a face here, a face there, but like the majority of it, I was just like, don't know any of these people.
Yeah.
And then we got that same kind of surprise again when we went on tour, even to the point where we were like talking to people in the audience.
Yeah.
You know, like in between sets and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, there was like a couple of people that we had met that were just like, yeah, we know of you guys. We're all the way from like Devon, or something like
we were on holiday,
deep south of England, and then we were like, we saw you guys were playing up here. We thought, we'll just go on holiday and we'll come see them. And I was like,
what?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So like,
it's bizarre.
Yeah. Exactly. Once that starts happening, you're starting to do something right.
Yeah. Yep. And you're
Once
like, do you know my mum? No.
Yeah, but like you do start asking stupid questions like, oh, how did you hear of us? So, we just like, we saw you at this thing, or like a friend of a friend of a friend sent us and we really liked it, it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts, Sometimes it is just as random as like we saw it and we thought we'd just take a chance on it, and you're really good and we like it. We like you, you know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of there's a band. I don't know if they're still gigging, they're like a bluegrass band, but they have a whole thing which is like they're called the Whiskey River, the Whiskey River Boat Club. I think that's what they're called. I think that's the name. It's something whiskey and something river and something boat. It's ages ago, but their whole shtick was that they just to add to the extra fun of it is that they get to their gigs in really unusual ways. So like one gig, and this is like with double basses and stuff, they like canoe over to like a gig, or they'll like cycle or like do something ridiculous,
Right.
And that's fun, and they like, you know, chronicle the journey and like whatever. It's whole part of the whole thing.
Okay.
But they thought, we'll just go to Isla and we'll see if we can play a gig. And they booked a lot of the distilleries have wee venues inside of them. They decided to book Ardbeg, which has a really tiny little like theatre area, and I mean it's tiny.
Yeah.
And it got to the gig, and there were so many people that they were like, right, we need to relocate to somewhere else in the distillery. They ended up playing in the gift shop.
Nice.
Because it was the biggest place. So they just set up acoustically just in the gift shop and just played, and it was epic. It was so good.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what you want.
But yeah, that can happen as well.
It's just being able to keep doing that sort of thing long enough for enough people to tell their pals about you, basically. It's that exponential
it's
thing.
the Whiskey River Boat Band, not club.
Okay.
I'm a dummy.
So, another one here. Everything you do as a band should always be to serve the goal that you set as a band. And any move against that is exactly the wrong direction. So, for example, set an arbitrary goal like more fans, more people at gigs, more song listens on Spotify, whatever floats your boat. If you're struggling to make a decision as a band, sometimes it's good to just zoom out a little bit and go, right, what's the goal of this band? Right, what can we agree on? We want to get more fans, right? Is choosing to have that font as opposed to that font going to make an impact on the amount of people that follow us as a band? Is it going to be minimal or is it going to be a lot? Right, and then it puts little decisions like that into more perspective. Because you should always keep the grand picture in mind, because people can get real fixated on silly things that don't really matter in the grand scheme, and bands can break up over that stuff. I've seen it happen. I've been in bands that have done that. Decisions on whether to release it as an EP or release it as an album or release it as singles or just things like that, and or even just like I said, like font size or font type, or just like, come on, it's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that important. I mean, every decision you make has got some importance to it, but some has more than others, which is why if you really get into like heavy debates and stuff, zoom out and see what the actual common goal is, because it's in your best interest to not fight and bicker about stupid wee things, and just concentrate on the actual main goal. You know, getting more material out there. That's what the fans want. That's what anyone who genuinely likes your stuff, they probably just want to hear from you. They just want to, right, oh, they've got a gig coming up. Oh, that's cool. Oh, there's a new EP. Brilliant. I'll get that on my Spotify. That's really what it's all about. Because there's no point spinning your wheels for a month deciding whether the guitar solo should be a decibel louder or not. No, I think it should be this. It's an important thing. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. You should be able to hear my fingers tapping the fretboard.
Yep. Yep.
It's important.
Yep. It's
Otherwise, it won't sound good.
well, we might lose 5 fans if they can't hear the tapping on the fretboard.
I know, right?
It's not losing perspective of the thing, and there's a thing that people tend to do with regards to the whole exponential growth thing. As a society, like, everyone just focuses on the sharp peak of the graph. So, like, for example, somebody goes number 1, you've never heard of them before, and they go, oh, look, they've just made it overnight, look at that. And you don't realise that they've been grinding for the last 10 years, but you don't see that. The society only focuses on the result, right? The big spike at the end where they get all the attention, and they don't focus on the slow grind. So that's quite disheartening for a lot of musicians. I know it was for me when I first started out. It was like, oh, why am I not super amazing, and why is my band not doing really well? It's because you're misinformed. You don't realise that all your favourite artists had to grind for years as well, most likely.
For sure. Like, you need to remember that. And it's made even worse by social media sometimes, because you'll see somebody might have put up, like, I don't know, a video of them, like, doing this incredible, like, solo or lick or whatever.
Yep.
And you'll go, oh man, I wish I could just do that. What you haven't seen there is the 50 million like takes before that of this person being like, oh, I need to get it good for Instagram, like, and it's the same with everything, like, even somebody who is like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another example. I think the music one is probably the best one, but it is kind of that.
The trick shot guy.
Like,
remember the trick shot guy from like 5-6 years ago? Oh, I've got skills. What you could do about it?
Yeah.
It's like throwing stuff in bins and things, and like 200 takes later.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like he would have just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it until he just got it.
Yeah, and then it looks as if he just got it in one go.
So it's the exact same thing. You just need to keep going, and don't get bitter about it if you're like playing and in another band, because it can be quite easy to do. Say you're playing and another band who is in like the same scene just ends up taking off maybe quicker than you. Don't sit there and go, oh, stupid, blah, 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 stupid, can't believe they don't deserve it, they're untalented, like, and just like get super, like grumpy about it.
Yeah.
That's not gonna help.
Yeah.
Especially if they hear about it, because then, best thing you can do, and no, actually, the thing that you should do, and this just shows that you're a much more mature person, is to actually like congratulate them, or think like, good for them, like they're doing their thing and it's working.
Yep.
Rather than sitting there going like, that's how you end up turning into like a grouchy boomer, like, oh, back in my day, like, people used to actually work hard.
People used to pay for music.
People used to pay for music, and now it's like, yeah, but people used to actually buy CDs and listen to them, and like buy vinyl, and people that used to actually play electric guitar. Nobody does it anymore. It's all MIDI keyboards and crap.
And when vinyl came out, people used to actually go and see bands. Now they just buy this disc thing and listen to it in their house. Oh, it's ruining this world. Like the people who were, these cars are just destroying blacksmiths' jobs. They used to, put shoes on my horse and just doing people out of a job. Like,
there is actually there's like there was a I can't remember what the name of the article was, but like around that time where they were starting to phase out horses and get cars, like, there was an article being like, here are the reasons why a horse is better than a car.
Yeah.
Like, sure, cars can go fast and, you don't have to feed them, but oil is so expensive. A horse is just much more cost effective when in reality, horses really were like pooping all over the street.
They're slow.
Making a big mess.
They got ill.
They would just, like, the things that people don't tell you about is that, like, seeing, like, old pictures of Victorian England, like, pre-cars, or like Victorian London, they're not showing you all the dead horses on the side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like,
see, horses, anyone who knows anything.
It's actually, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, the introduction of the car, possibly the best thing that ever happened to the horse, because now horses
leisure,
have pretty, like,
cushy lives,
pampered, cushy lives.
Yeah.
They're pets,
and more so, like,
sometimes they compete in Olympics.
Like, farm horses were just, ploughing fields and stuff like that. Probably harder in the town, arguably, because they had the outdoors and all that. But yeah, anyone who knows anything about horses, they're crap. They're crap animals. They're so pernickety. You can't feed them cold water in the winter, or they'll get flipping pneumonia and die. You have to give them warmed up water, and they have to have everything just right because they get ill so easily. They're not like cattle or goats or sheep. Sheep are really hardy. You can throw them on the side of a mountain, they'll be fine. But horses are so finicky. They take a lot of looking after, basically. So when the car came along, it was like, because they're
Thank
just
goodness.
Because it's like the animal is not that hardy. There's only certain breeds of horses that were the sort of hardy Clydesdales and things like that.
And we're kind of seeing the same thing, arguably, with electric cars as well. Like, people, they just don't go as fast, they don't go as far, like, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But the thing is that things are, like, the technology is developing, and it's the same. Yeah, let's get it. Let's try and see if we can wheel it back to music.
Yeah. It's the point is, the sort of exponential growth thing. It's accepting change as well. That people are so reluctant to do. People constantly moaning every day about things that are changing in the industry, and I'm like, yeah, it's changing, but it's always changed. It's just changing faster now, arguably. The rate at which it's changing, that's exponential as well, isn't it? The rate at which things change is increasing. You think, like, a good example would be technologically, the difference that the last 100 years has been more difference technologically than any other period of time. So, for example, if you were to go back 1,000 years, right, and then count 100 years, so go to the year 1000 and then live through to the year 1100, the technological change in that time would have been absolutely minuscule compared to the last 100 years, because it's just went zoom, exponential and change. Think about someone who is currently 100 years old or thereabouts, 90 something, how much they've lived through. First World War, Second World War, the invention of jet planes, computers, iPods, space travel,
the first animated full motion picture.
Yeah. Video
like
games,
talkies.
Yeah. Movies. Yeah.
Color television. Mobile phones.
Photography.
Internet.
Just everything. It's mad. Cars, steel boxes that take you around with an
flat
engine.
Screen TV. Like, honestly,
Endless.
man, like, it's crazy. I'm sitting here like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I remember back in the day when phones were just, before they used to be big bricks, but before they used to be little bricks, and now it's just a flat piece of glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember infrared?
Yeah.
Infrared, yeah.
Infrared. And now everything's Bluetooth or something, whatever.
Yeah, remember, like,
some kind of wireless technology. I remember back in the day when I was using the internet and my mum was like, I'm turning the internet off now because I need to call somebody.
Yeah, I remember that. Dial-up.
Yeah, exactly. It's a, like, and I'm only 20. I'm gonna be 26
Yeah.
this year, and like all the stuff that I've seen, I remember video games when they were just polygons,
Aye.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just blocky shapes.
And that was 5 minutes
and
ago.
now, like, you're seeing like some games that look like like almost like completely like realistic.
Yeah.
It's getting that close to it being like, oh, that's just an actor,
So it is a common phenomenon,
thing.
this exponential growth. The more you grow, the rate at which you grows with each passing moment. That's kind of how it works. And it's the same across the board. It's definitely the same with bands. It's just bear that in mind, especially through the crappiest year in living memory. Just basically just keep on going, because you just don't know. It could be round the corner that suddenly a song you release gets a lot of attention and propels the band forward, or whatever it happens to be. But you wouldn't know if you quit. If you quit, you would never know if it had amounted to anything. There's and basically, when you if you want to quit a band, the thing that should be at the forefront is, am I still invested in this? Do I still find meaning in this project? And if the answer is no, then you should quit, because there's no point in doing something if you don't have if there's no purpose, of no meaning to you. But if you have meaning and there's a million other problems, fix the million other problems, because if you still find it meaningful, it's still worth doing, I think.
Yeah.
There's been some projects that it had lost meaning for me, so I just felt, I'm not invested in this anymore. But there's other projects that just, it's always fun, it's always great, and that's the ones I stick to. So yeah, that was just an episode idea I thought would be kind of good.
It was good.
It's building upon the kind of episodes we've been doing previously. Episode 40? Episode 40, yeah. It was the motivational, basically like what defines success, and pick different things that will shoot you in the right direction. And this episode kind of follows on from that. And if you've done all that from episode 40 and it's still not working, hang in there. You've still got a long game to play. You need to be in the it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You've just got to keep chipping away at it. That's kind of how to think of it.
Yeah.
So
100%.
If there's anything else you want to add, or no?
No, nothing I can think of. That was a good episode, though.
Yeah, it was a point that I probably should have put on to the episode 40, but it was maybe needing a bit longer to talk about it. Otherwise, that episode would have been 2 hours long.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And plus, people got to hear about horses and stuff, and it's valuable.
There you go. Now you know loads of stuff about. Yeah. Like
horses.
This isn't just a music podcast. It's a video game, film, farm history podcast.
Yep. Yeah, it was my dad that told me about the horse thing with the water. In winter time, you can basically give a cow an ice block and they'll lick it until they get the water out of it. Like, cows are just they don't care, but a horse is like, it needs that tepid, just nice room temperature water. Otherwise,
is it all horses, or does it depend on the breed? Because I can't imagine.
I think it's like the pony, the ones, the sort of ones you see at riding schools and stuff, because they're not horses; they're just kiddie on horses. Like,
well, yeah, it's
go to an agricultural show and you'll see horses there. They things are like 12
that's
foot
the thing,
tall.
it's like Dashuns aren't actual like at this point, they're not even proper dogs. Like Chihuahuas are just like a joke at this point.
Big hamster.
You know, but then you get something like, you know, like a Jack Russell, or, you know, you think of other small dogs, and they're proper like hardy,
Aye.
you know, hardy dogs. It's the same kind of a thing.
See when you see a big horse, like if you're in the countryside, you go for a walk or something, or a bike ride, and you see horses at the side of the road, sometimes you stop and you give them a wee clap. They're maybe, if you're like between 5 and 6 foot tall, the horse standing next to you will maybe be about 7 foot, you know, just with the top of its head being about 7 foot tall, which is kind of average horse.
Yeah, man, horses are big.
But go to a agricultural show where they maybe have some horses or stuff. I was at one last year, not this year, obviously, but last year, and I swear there was this horse. It was probably about 9 foot tall, and it wasn't even rearing its head. This thing was an absolute beast. This was a proper horse,
like a unit.
Oh, an absolute unit of a horse. Huge. I mean, its backside is like a good 4 foot wide. It just puts all other horses to shame.
What would you? I mean, that must be for ploughing.
It was probably a Clydesdale.
Fields.
Yeah, they are big animals. Anyway, why are we talking about horses?
Not for riding. Hey, I mean, like, it was still interesting.
Yeah. So, next week I'm not sure what's happening, but I want to get a guest on again, so I'm gonna do my best to try and send out some feelers and see who we can get on. And if you've got any suggestions, if there's a guy or gal that you are into, like there's a singer or songwriter or producer or anything, and you think, oh, they'd be quite good on the podcast, let us know and we'll see what we can do. Or you yourself, if you're like, oh, I've got a lot to offer the Level Up Your Band folks, give us a shout on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and we'll answer your message and we'll see what we can do. And as of yesterday, today's the 1st of December, so I'll be definitely up by the time this airs. I uploaded another file, another PDF to the website, and it's the 20, I think it was 20 essential tools for management. So it's managerial software and tools and stuff that you can download. If you are running your band, if you're taking charge of all the sort of admin stuff, these are like apps and websites and things that help you get all that stuff done. So bookkeeping software, web analytics, web platforms, CRMs, you know, all that stuff. So I've got a list of all the kind of software that I recommend, some free, some paid, and you can look into it and maybe learn a bit more about it, see how it can, basically it's to save you time, because if you're spending hours and hours and hours and hours a week on band admin stuff, some of this stuff can cut that time down so that you can spend more time on music and stuff. Cool. So with that, hope you all have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Right. Bye.